The article was called The End of ESG as a Term, not as a practice. So I'm absolutely about investors thinking long-term when they invest, companies making long-term investments in their corporate culture, in decarbonisation. But if you call it ESG, unfortunately, this leads to some just provocative reaction. So people think, okay, if I'm a Republican, I should be against this, when creating long-term profits should be a completely Republican value. So I thought, well, let's move away from this ESG term, which rightly or wrongly, probably wrongly, has become politicized, and instead think about how do we create long-term value, which is something that everybody, Democrats and Republicans, should be embracing.
Call it sustainable value instead of ESG.
Absolutely. And sustainable value, what does sustainable mean? Long-term value. Shouldn't any Republican want to be long-term greedy and make long-term profits? Yes. Shouldn't any Democrat want to create long-term value? Absolutely. And also this means within an organization, it's not just for somebody whose job is ESG specialist or ESG manager. Even if your job is chief financial officer or chief executive officer, you should be embracing these sustainability issues. Why? Because this improves long-term company performance. Again, one of the problems with ESG is not just the political polarization, but it's often seen as niche within a company. I can just farm this out to the ESG department and then the real business people can deal with real business issues, but that's not the way of thinking.
It should be ingrained in the company. It should be part of the business.
Absolutely. So to me, the ESG movement has won when ESG is no longer
it's just a standard.
Yeah. It's just how you do business. Yeah.
You find that though. So speaking to Vanguard in the past, they have these sustainability departments within every fund, and they're pressurizing businesses because a lot of the businesses that are in the ESG funds are in the main index.
Yes,
they might strip out guns, but I find that a lot of it is just so that they can charge a few extra basis points. Vegan burgers, right? It's like KFC they don't start offering vegan burgers because they want to sell less chickens. They just think we can charge a nice high price for the vegan burgers.
Yeah.
So can we apply a similar framework then to someone who goes, I want to be an ethical investor. Oh, there's an ESG fund. That makes them feel good inside. But how do they actually go about this process of going, is this what I want? Is this actually ethical?
Well, I think one thing you'd want to look at is what are the top holdings in that portfolio. So one of the concerns of greenwashing is that you can have some funds which claim to be ESG, but if you were to look at the particular holdings within, this doesn't necessarily suggest actually this doesn't look like a fund which is investing in companies that create value for wider society. I would also still look at the general thing that a fund needs to deliver, which is long-term financial performance. So why am I investing? It might be for my future or for my son's future. Why? So therefore financial returns are going to be absolutely paramount. And if there's a fund which has made lots of financial returns, it should not be embarrassed about that. Those financial returns are not at the expense of ESG. Those financial returns are because they've invested in companies that have done really well and grown and created a lot of value for wider society. So I would, rather than just looking at just the traditional ESG label, whether your fund has ESG or sustainable in your name, what are the actual holdings that you have? What is your long-term financial performance? You could then, if you wanted to, look at some specific ESG actions, which are sometimes funds list the companies they engaged in and what they try to get that company to do. So is it to phase out plastic packaging, or is this to treat employees better and invest more in human capital, and look at those. But I think what matters much more is actions rather than claims and labels.